Imagine for a second that your brain is a high-end GPS. Now, imagine you've been accidentally typing Disaster City into the destination bar every single morning while you're brushing your teeth. You wouldn't be surprised if you ended up in a ditch, right? But here's the kicker. Most of us are doing exactly that without even realizing it. We think we're just being realistic, but science suggests we might actually be coding our own future in real time. And no, I'm not talking about magic or manifesting a Ferrari by staring at a candle. I'm talking about hardwired biology that is either working for you or against you. Think about the last time you bought a specific pair of shoes or a car. Suddenly, you saw them everywhere, didn't you? Every street corner, every parking lot. Did the world suddenly produce a million more of those cars? Of course not. Your brain just started noticing them. This is thanks to a tiny bundle of nerves called the reticular activating system, or RAS. It's the ultimate gatekeeper. It filters out the noise and only lets in what it thinks is important to you. If you're constantly telling yourself that everything goes wrong or I'm just not the lucky type, your RAS takes that as an order. It starts scanning the world specifically for evidence that your life is a mess. It ignores the open doors and highlights the brick walls. You're literally walking past opportunities because your brain has decided they don't fit your current vibe. But here's where it gets a little scary and where it gets interesting. Every time you have a repetitive negative thought, you're not just having a bad moment, you're building a highway. There's a rule in neuroscience. Neurons that fire together wire together. If you spend your day ruminating on past mistakes or worrying about a future that hasn't happened yet, you're physically strengthening the neural pathways for stress. You're becoming an Olympic athlete at being miserable. Your body starts pumping out cortisol like it's an energy drink, and suddenly you're in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, your creative brain shuts down. You can't see the future clearly because you're too busy trying to survive the lion that is actually just an unread email. Now, I'm not saying you should just think happy thoughts and wait for a bag of money to fall from the sky. That's not how this works. But there is a massive difference between optimism and what researchers call a strategic mindset. When you shift your internal dialogue, you aren't changing the world, not yet anyway, but you are changing the lens you see it through. Studies on neuroplasticity show that we can actually prune those old, dusty, I can't pathways and grow new ones. It's like weeding a garden. It's tedious and your back might hurt, but eventually you stop seeing weeds and start seeing space to build something. So how do we actually do this without sounding like a self-help book from the 90s? It starts with a weirdly simple trick. Interrupt the loop. The moment you catch yourself spiraling into a what if everything fails scenario, ask yourself, what if it doesn't? It sounds cheesy, I know, but biologically, you're forcing your brain to switch gears from the amygdala, the fear center, to the prefrontal cortex, the logic center. You're basically telling your brain, hey, we're not actually dying, can we look at the data for a second? Another massive move is what I like to call the 1% reframing. You don't need to believe you're a superhero today. You just need to find one tiny thing that could go right. When you focus on a small win, your brain releases a hit of dopamine. That dopamine makes you more alert, more creative, and more likely to take the next step. It's a literal chemical upward spiral. But there's a trap, a big one. Most of us spend so much time obsessing over the future version of ourselves that we completely forget to inhabit the person we are right now. We treat the present like a waiting room for the real life that's supposed to start later. The truth is, the future is just a collection of nows. If you're constantly stressed in the present, you're practicing being a stressed person in the future. You're training for a marathon of anxiety. The most productive thing you can do for your future self isn't worrying about 5 years from now. It's actually showing up for the next 15 minutes. Think of it like this. Your thoughts are the architect, but your actions are the construction crew. The architect can draw the most beautiful skyscraper in the world, But if the crew is sitting around complaining about the weather, nothing gets built. By focusing on the present, you give the crew the tools to start laying bricks. You stop being a spectator of your own life and start being the lead actor. If you want a better future, you have to stop being so certain about the bad one you've imagined. We're all out here making guesses about what's going to happen, so why not make a guess that actually gives you the energy to move? It's not about being delusional, it's about being effective. You wouldn't let a stranger talk to you the way you talk to yourself in your head sometimes. So maybe it's time to fire that internal critic and hire a coach instead. Start small. Tomorrow morning, before you even check your phone, because let's be honest, that's just an invitation for other people's stress to enter your brain, just set one intention, one thing you want to notice. Maybe it's an opportunity to learn, or maybe it's just a moment of peace. Give your RAS a new target. See what happens when you stop looking for the no and start looking for the maybe. You might find that the future you've been dreaming of isn't some distant island you have to swim to. It's something you're building, brick by brick, thought by thought, right here in the present. The most fascinating part of all this? Your brain doesn't actually know the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. That's why your heart races during a horror movie, even though you're safe on your couch. You can use that. Spend a few minutes actually feeling what it's like to succeed. Not just thinking it, but feeling it. It primes your nervous system to recognize those feelings when they show up in real life. It makes you brave when you should be hesitant. You aren't a finished product. You're a work in progress, and you happen to be the one holding the pen. So, what's the next sentence going to be? Are we staying in Disaster City, or are we finally changing the destination? The choice is yours. And honestly, the present moment is a pretty great place to start. Stop waiting for the world to give you permission to be happy or successful. Give yourself the permission first, and watch how the world struggles to keep up with the new version of you. It won't happen overnight, but one day you'll look back and realize that the future you were so worried about turned out pretty great, all because you decided to change your mind.